Hello there everyone, and welcome to the inaugural, if not the only episode of UXW Bill's compendium of bad ideas that he came up with late at night. Hello there everyone, I am UXW Bill here with you once again, and as you can see at this particular moment I have a nice little Optiplex 755 ultra small form factor computer system sitting on my service bench right now. This was actually a score from an area auto parts store. It seems that the management of that particular chain has finally put the word out that Windows XP has to go. And so it was that the owner of this particular franchise shelled out to them for one rather expensive new Dell Optiplex, again ultra small form factor for reasons I cannot possibly comprehend, computer system, and that left this one homeless. Now the others are presently under evaluation to see if we might be able, between he and myself, to upgrade them ourselves to a supported version of Windows. I'm not optimistic that we can, but it's definitely an idea that we're batting around. Unfortunately, this little machine has a problem that many of these ultra small form factor Dell machines develop, and that is a non-functional fan that is conspiring to make the system very, very unhappy. Let's go ahead and have a look at what's going on here. It's this hard drive fan that's non-working, and if I go ahead and power the system up, we'll get a big old breath of fresh air from these two fans up here, both of which happen to be running, but this one usually will not start. And indeed it does not. We will soon be greeted by a very unhappy computer. Yes, indeed. Hard drive fan failure, and of course a failure to detect a serial ATA hard drive. Now, for those of you out there who are familiar with computers and have done a fair bit of wrenching on them, either personally or professionally, as I have and continue to do, you will undoubtedly be aware that sometimes you can save one of these little DC brushless fan motors by injecting oil into the bearings. Even if they've managed to lock up, most of the time you can still happen to save them. Unfortunately, such is not the case with this particular fan from Dell. This is one of the Sunon branded MagLev fans. Now the MagLev designation suggests that there's something special at play here, and while its vendor claims that these fans have no need of a conventional bearing because they float using, you guessed it, magnetic levitation, well, they must still float on something, and apparently they don't work quite as described. There is seemingly some sort of a pintle-like bearing inside these things, and it fails. Unfortunately, unlike other computer fans, you cannot simply peel off the label on one of these and get to the bearing, because guess what? There's a pressed-in cap that keeps you from getting at it. And I don't know that you can get that out of there. The few times I've tried, I've ended up destroying the fan. Maybe if you were very careful and you had a drill press or something like that, you could drill it out. Alas, it seems to be nearly impossible to oil one of these fans after it has seized up. Now, in all fairness to Sunon, I do have to say that these fans do seem to be a good bit more reliable than their conventional sleeve and ball bearing brethren. But when one of them fails, it is truly a pain, because then you have to go and get another. Now, another in this case is not terribly cost prohibitive. These things are all over eBay for $10. But I figure, why spend $10 on something that's probably going to go out very soon anyway, especially when you don't have anything in the computer. And so I've decided to try something, well, that might, as per the introduction to this video, turn out to be a phenomenally bad idea. If we cannot lubricate this motor's bearing in the conventional way, then we'll have to do something a little bit unconventional. But first I've got to get the actual fan assembly off of this blue plastic holder. And in order to do that, I've got to remove these two screws. Unfortunately, it seems that they're cranked in there pretty tight, and with one hand manning the video camera, I just can't quite manage to get that out of there, so I'll be right back. In the unlikely event that there would happen to be any members of the viewing audience who are not fully prepared to accept the consequences for the results of their actions, I suggest they stop watching this video right now. Because to do what I'm about to demonstrate, you may invalidate any kind of extended warranty or service contract that your particular computer system may be under. Not to mention that you may take a fan that's already bad and make it far, far worse. As I said, I wasn't at all joking when I announced in the beginning of this video that this could very well turn out to be a bad idea. It's certainly a last resort and something that I would never recommend for any system that actually still happens to have even the slightest shred of monetary value. But for all the rest of you in the viewing audience who are wondering at this point what I am going to do, well, if you can't get the oil into the fan, you can certainly get the fan into the oil. Got a little bit of 5W30 synthetic blend motor oil here. This stuff works very well. A penetrating oil might work better, but since we're going to be dunking the whole fan in this, I do have some concerns about the higher flammability of things like penetrating oil. So let's see what happens here. Bloop! There it went. Just go ahead and let that soak for a bit. Then pull it out, try to clean it up, and see if it blows this system all to pieces. I have returned, and as much as I would like to tell you that I was successful in repairing this fan, such was unfortunately not the case. If there is a secret to repairing these Sunon MagLev fans when they go wrong, I haven't figured out what it is. Maybe I never will. I went ahead and I let the fan float around in the oil for a period of about 1 hour, and in an effort to try and speed any potential uptake of oil into the fan's bearings, I placed the plastic cup containing the fan and the oil into a pan full of hot water. And then I went off to engage in the #1 repair method by superior computer technicians everywhere. That is to say, I watched television for an hour. Came back, plugged this fan into the computer, nothing blew up, but unfortunately nothing was any better than it has been. There doesn't even seem to have been a slight improvement with regard to this fan. I have to admit, I'm really not terribly sure why Dell thought that a hard drive fan was necessary in these systems. This system had so much dust in it that I can guarantee you it had developed a pretty high R value. And the BIOS has reported in its event log that the fan has not operated since sometime in 2012. So it's been a couple of years since it has worked. Meanwhile, in my own informal tests with this system running at 100% CPU load and keeping the hard drive busy, I have never noticed the drive getting any warmer than approximately 106 degrees Fahrenheit. That's really not too hot for a hard drive that's working hard. In fact, with no fan circulating air over it, I'd have to say that's pretty good. My guess is that perhaps the surrounding metal chassis acts as something of a heat sink for the drive. Well, maybe I'll go ahead and buy one of these fans. Maybe I'll simply graft something into the wiring that I've got kicking around. It's hard to tell, but in the meantime, I thank you for watching, and I encourage you to leave a comment, especially if you have some idea of how to successfully repair these MagLev fans. Here's a little postscript to this particular video. This particular cup that I used to soak the fan in oil was completely clean when I started. I know because I rinsed it out with water before I ever put the oil in it, then I dried it out thoroughly. Also, the source of oil was known to be clean and fresh. So what are these particulates in the bottom of this cup? I don't know. Maybe they're pieces from the fan's internals indicating some sort of degradation.